From my perspective, I would say that, in my personal opinion, 3 years ago, all of us Ukrainians had a choice. The choice was quite simple: to fight or to disappear, if not forever, then for a long time. And back then, we all together made our choice to fight. And we showed not only to our enemies, but to the whole world that we are not just a people who have their own history, own culture, own religion, but we are truly a nation of heroes. And this heroic struggle of ours has led us to quite remarkable, I believe, military achievements. Look, we not only managed to stop and defeat the most powerful enemy in the world, we also succeeded in completely changing the nature of modern warfare. As a result, we have become a country with, perhaps, the most modern armed forces, possessing, let's say, ultra-modern technologies of contemporary warfare, and have experience in conducting this warfare. And most importantly, we have people who are ready to continue fighting. All of this, of course, has led our country to the point where we have become not only a subject, and I believe that we have become, perhaps today, fully fledged, complete participants in the geopolitical process. For example, I understand that everyone realizes that the security of Europe, for instance, today completely depends on us, specifically on our Ukraine. But still, as of today, our struggle continues, despite the blood, the death, and despite all this cynicism that we see despite the behavior of some of our partners, we continue to fight. We fight with faith in our victory. Why do we need victory? Because we still, unfortunately, I think, have not achieved the most important thing. We have not gained freedom. We have only paid an enormous and extremely high price for this freedom, which, of course, well, we must never forget. We must not forget this. And accordingly, in fact, again, today we are faced with the choice of what to do next. And so this choice, I think, for me personally, as a person perhaps more military-minded, is a choice between honor and shame. Honor will remain with this nation's heroes, and shame. This is the most terrible thing we can accept that can be. Shame before the fallen, before our children, shame, if we allow that the lives we have lost were in vain. What should we do? We must perhaps ensure that these changes in the geopolitical situation that are happening are only for Ukraine, for the benefit of Ukraine. We must ensure that our dependence on other countries is, of course, minimal. And of course, in our country, we must think first of all about the fact that the nation of heroes deserves not only respect, but truly deserves a better life. We must remember that, well, a nation of heroes will never become just a population. Viktor Andreyevich said this correctly. And this nation will require radical, truly decisive changes. And now, as we talk about the School of Management within the School of Management, I'll say this. I absolutely agree with an American member who said that the greatest danger in times of such instability is not the instability itself, but rather actions. Accordingly, the logic of yesterday, which is absolutely unsuitable for today. Therefore, I believe that God loves Ukraine, He is not indifferent, and the future of Ukraine is absolutely in our hands. Thank you very much. I will tell you about the true face of war. What is it really? And in reality, we are again talking about freedom and choice. Yes, so war is your choice to make two important decisions. The first decision is not to be afraid to die. And that means being ready for self-sacrifice. Such an important decision everyone must make when preparing for armed struggle. But dying for Ukraine, for your people, is not enough. You also need to make a second decision. Also very difficult and very important. And the second decision is that you must decide and be ready to kill. And it is the readiness, not only for self-sacrifice, but also the readiness to kill for Ukraine, for their land, for their people, for their own family. That brings us to the fighting spirit that allows us to conduct armed struggle. So where does it come from? Perhaps it's a special diet. No. Perhaps it's some special weather conditions in which we are raised. No. Maybe it's some other external factors? No. It's all thanks to our code. The code of our nation, which is embedded in us in the form of culture. That's what our eternal enemy is fighting against. With a culture that is built, first and foremost, on history. And with this history, with this culture, our enemy also fights. Well, now, what should we do? And we need to do only one thing. For culture, first of all, to ensure that this chain of this genetic code does not break, but rather expanded, and continue to be woven into our children, grandchildren, and our nation. What does the Ukrainian world mean to you in contrast to the Russian world? The answer is very simple. It is good and evil. It is darkness and light. It is, in the end, the future and oblivion. These are completely different things, and together these things converge in the struggle for the bright, for the future, for love. That is what the Ukrainian world is. What is the Russian world? Well, the Russian, there is no point in even explaining. It is what kills us every day. Evidence that we did not exist. But we are here.